Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Mac. I'm back again, so let's talk. Earlier, I was talking about holding on to traditions, and if you look in my background, ironically, I have a prime example of holding on to traditions and era teaching. Let me turn it a little bit so you see what I'm talking about. Washington Redskins. For years, this has been the mascot, and for years, this has been the whole idea and concept behind this team. And also, for decades, the indigenous people of this country have voiced their disapproval of using these stereotypes for their people. So I understand that and I get that. And the thing that I don't get is this. Washington Redskins is not the only sports organization that uses and exploits the indigenous people and perpetuate the stereotype about them. We have the Atlanta Braves, we have the Florida State Seminoles, we have all of these different Native American terms and images being used in sporting organizations all the way across the board. From baseball, football, whatever, they have it in there. And so why is it just the Washington team who's being scrutinized? And probably because it's the nation's capital, it's a big market team, and they get a lot of exposure, they get a lot of airtime, so they're seen more than other guys. Okay, I can take that point, but at the same time, these other teams are still seen, and these images and these stereotypes are still represented. Because when you go to the Chiefs games, you're going to hear that same cheer that they do at the Florida State games. We know what that is, and that's offensive to them. But yet and still, it's still done throughout the nation at these games. So why is this selective outrage just for this team right here, as opposed to every one of those teams who are following in the same line as these guys? I'm not understanding it. And this is why I haven't taken my background down, because I'm speaking out against this selective outrage that we tend to have on certain things, thinking that you're going to use that to dictate how somebody is going to live their life and how they're going to operate and think. And I've never been that guy to go with the flow. I always go against the grain, especially when it is necessary and warranted. And no disrespect to the indigenous people whatsoever. This is not about y'all. What I am standing for has absolutely nothing to do with the respect for the indigenous people and the acknowledgement of the indigenous people of the United States. What I am stepping out and standing out against is this selective outrage that America has gotten accustomed to doing to people. And I'm always going to stand against what I see as wrong in era teaching. That goes back to reinforce the last video I did about the era teaching that we continue to hold on to and perpetuate. So this selective outrage that has become the new rage, no pun intended, this is something that I'm going to always speak out against, and I'm always going to highlight it and expose it for what it is when I see it. You see, I took my Clinton Portis jersey and I covered up Redskins. That's my way of saying that I protest that and I respect the indigenous people of this country and their heritage. And so I do that for them as my sign of showing that I'm with them. Am I going to take the whole thing down? Nah, probably not. Anybody has a problem with that? Okay, so what? What you going to do about it? We have to quit nitpicking on this small stuff. We have so many bigger issues going on in our country that things like this are not top priority. Of course, we want to change narratives, and changing narratives is going to change the mind of the people in the long term. But right now, we have some things far more important to be discussing and to be worrying about than what's on a helmet or what's on a jersey. How about reissuing these people their land? You know what I'm saying? How about taking these people off of the reservations and actually opening up areas, homes, housing developments, not projects, not like y'all did us. I'm not talking about that. By far, I'm not talking about that. Don't get me misconstrued on that. I'm not talking about putting Native American people in projects. No, I'm talking about giving them housing, real housing, decent neighborhoods that is exclusively for them and their people. I've been out on a Native American reservation when I was out in Vegas, and I was on my way back to the National Training Center at Fort Irwin, but I made a wrong turn and went left, and I ended up almost to Utah. And so when I was on that trip, I came across a true Native American reservation. And what I saw was heartbreaking, man. So if we're going to talk about doing things for the indigenous people of this country, let's start there. Let's start by getting them off of the reservations and segregated from the rest of the country to where they can just be pretty much done any type of way. It's the same concept as zoning. The way they put us in different districts and different zones so that they can allocate money to the zones that they're in favor of versus the one that hold the people they're not in favor of. Let's get rid of that. And that's basically what these Native American reservations are. It's zoning and districting the people so that you can pretty much control what goes in and what comes out. And I know that they gave them casinos. This was their form of reparations to the Native Americans, was to give them casinos to bring bad elements into their environment and cause them to be influenced by these outside elements that are now being invited into their environment to build economic growth for these people and economic stability. That was America's idea of reparations for the Native American people. And when I was in, where was I at? I was in Ball, Louisiana. I was down there training at what was the fort? Fort Pope? One of those training sites down there. And one of my sergeants that was training us, he was Native American. And he explained to me that he does get a stipend every month from the U.S. government, but it's basically like a retirement check, you know. And if you look at our older people and the retirement insurance that they get, it's just a few $100s. Not nothing that's going to be able to sustain you to live life or anything like that. It's just something extra just to say that, well, hey, we're paying reparations to them. So as far as not perpetuating these stereotypes for the indigenous people, learn their history, learn their true history, and go and talk to some people. You know, get some understanding of who they are so that you will have a good reference point whenever somebody brings up this type of topic. I love everybody, man. I'm not a person who's going to exalt one ethnicity over another for any reason. If I say something about an ethnic group and I'm wrong, then I stand corrected, and I have no problem being corrected. But just make sure that your energy is right when you come to me to correct me, because I'm going to give you the same energy in return. Just know that. But yeah, this is holding on to traditions, and we have to break these cycles. But it's not just changing one team. Let's change all of these teams who perpetuate these stereotypes about the indigenous people of this country. That's the only way you're going to get some true justice and some true progression in those areas. So let's stop this selective outrage about just the Washington football team, and let's really get in on everybody else and hold those other teams accountable as well. And then we can have something to talk about. But for right now, I'm still gonna have this up in my background. I'm gonna do everything that I can to let the Native American people know that your boy D-Mac is with you, because I got Native American blood in me as well. My grandfather, if you see a picture of my grandfather, he had a ponytail to go all the way down to his butt, all the way to the day that he died. And back then, a lot of Native Americans were signed in the census ledgers as Negro. So we have to understand there's some identity politics also in that as well. So our African American people and our Native American people are very, very close knit in a lot of things, because there's been some intermingling there, and people don't want to highlight that or bring that out. But like I said, I have Native American blood in me, so I would not disrespect the people. And if you feel that I'm being disrespectful by keeping this up, drop a comment down there so we can talk about it. I love to discuss things, and I'm always solution oriented, so I'm looking for solutions anytime I can. And I'm not against anybody speaking their mind to me. But like I said, watch your energy, because I'm gonna return the same. This is your boy D-Mac, man, and you know what I always say: sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word will always heal you. I'm out.